So this property here is, I think when I measured it, if I remember correctly, it was about 11,000 square feet, 11,000 and change square feet. But it's broken up into many different sections, so I want to use this property. You know, it's not huge, but it's not small either. And the fact that it's broken up into different sections, I wanted to use this property as a good example of how to kind of break it down and tackle a property of this size. Whether you've got a large mower or a smaller mower, you can still get it done. I recommend a commercial mower for this type of yard, whether it be a 30-inch, push mower, commercial, or 36-inch walk behind, or stander, or sit down zero turn, up to 48 inches, 52 inches, all of that would work on here. I mean, you could put any size mower on here, but my point is anyone can tackle this yard, whether you have small mowers or big mowers. But I recommend the commercial because it's going to give you that high quality cut, and it's going to handle the thick grass and the slopes and everything that are going on in the backyard that I'll show in a minute. And it's just going to be better off that way. So if you see, the front yard is pretty self-explanatory. You can go in any direction you want. You see I got diagonals here, and I also went horizontal like this, a different day, different week. So I definitely alternate between, the different patterns. So you want to do that so you don't cause a lot of ruts in the turf, because you go in the same directions over and over again, it's going to create ruts, especially if the ground is wet and soft. But it also creates a nice look when you have alternating patterns. So depending on which way you walk and look and what angle, you see a different pattern, whether it's diagonals or horizontal. So this is pretty self-explanatory. Front yard, you do whatever. Then you got this side yard here. It's really long and narrow. So you see, I'm not going to go back and forth the whole way down. I mean, I can a little bit back there, it gets wider, but that's going to take so much more time, and honestly you're going to tear up the turf more that way because you're turning around a lot. So you want to not do that to save time, and because you don't want to tear up the turf. So going horizontal, just going along the roots up and down is the best way, but eventually you're going to create ruts. So what you have to do is just, move over a little bit, from week to week, so that you're not going through the same tire pattern, and you can kind of go back and reset and go back to the original stripes. So there's, some of the stripes are going to look a little off. Sometimes you're going to see some other funky little, little strips here and there. They're not going to be perfectly defined, but that's fine because you just want to make sure you're not tearing up the turf. That's the main thing. When you look at this section here, again, this is similar to the front. You can do whatever you want. You can go up and down like I'm doing. You can also go side to side like I've done. You can't really see it. It's kind of fading off because I go up and down a lot more to match with the other side. So when you look from the street, everything looks the same. But I do alternate back here because I don't want to put ruts. So you got to alternate. But you can also do diagonal here. Like maybe I'll do that next time. I can start doing diagonals from there all the way here, and just do diagonals that way. But there's a big slope here, so you got to be careful. So you see it starts to turn into a nice slope here. So on the wet, slippery days, this is pretty treacherous. This is best for a walk behind. Can definitely handle that, but I've been doing it with my Grandstand and it works pretty well. But I just don't come all the way down to the edge. I come about this far here, I cut to right around here and just go straight. I don't do any stopping or turning. I come from there and I just point my chute out that way. This way I'm not scalping or anything, and I'm shooting all the grass out there, and I just come down along here, and then right there you see, and then I keep going, or I turn around down there where it's flat, where it's more level. And then all of this in here I have to get with the trimmer, because I'm not going to risk slipping into the woods there, or getting stuck in the mud. Right now it's fine because it's dry. If I ended up sliding in there, I could get out fine, but why do that and on a wet, rainy day that's going to be muddy and I'm not going to get out? So so here's a slope, and then here's another section here. You see I'm going up and down, but I also go side to side. You can go diagonal. again, another slope, so you kind of have to be careful. You know, if you're going back and forth like this, when you're coming over here, you can only come down so far, because now you're going to hit the slope, and whether you slip and slide or not, you're definitely going to dig up some ruts and tire tracks in here if you aren't careful. If you're turning, you know, too sharply or whatever, you have a bigger mower down in here, so you really got to be careful. So really, the yard is going to dictate to a certain extent what you can and can't do, what kind of patterns and things you can and can't do. So you got to keep that in mind. You know, you might want to do all the fun patterns in the world, but there's just certain terrain that won't let you do it. When it's sloped like that or whatever, you might be limited. So you got to go with the flow. But you should break it down into sections like I just did. And then here you have the final section here, you know, and there's a lot of obstacles on this side, which is more than the other side, so it's not as easy to just go straight up and down and all that. On this side, you kind of do different patterns or whatever, do whatever you got to do, make it look good. You know, you're going to stripe no matter what. If you have a commercial mower, things are going to automatically stripe, but if you're really passionate about striping and making the yards look great, which I am, like that, and neighbors love it, and that's how I get more and more business. And my customers tell me all the time how they always get compliments on their yard, not because it looks green or not because it's freshly cut, but because those two things plus the nice striped patterns that I put on it, it just makes it all come together and look really good. You know, not all grass you can do that with, but when you have the nice tall fescues, they really, you know, they can really stripe well. You know, if you have to mow it shorter like down south, and you have the different like zoysia and bent grass and all those type of things, Bermuda grass, you got to keep them short. It's not as easy to stripe, you know, they don't green up as much, things like that. So you do what you do with where you are and what you got, but either way you're going to have a nice, if you have a commercial mower, you're going to have a nice clean cut. If you keep your deck clean, your blade sharp, and you got full power, you know, it's going to be good. And you can push mow all this, but it's not going to look the same, and it's going to take you forever. So this is definitely a yard that you want to, if you start getting more of these yards, you want to step it up and get a walk behind at least, if you don't already have one. At least get a 36-inch walk behind. It will probably take you an hour just to mow this whole thing with a 36-inch walk behind, especially if you don't have a Velke and you're literally walking behind it. It's going to take you a while, but that's still a lot less than a 21-inch, you know, push mower, 22-inch push mower, or even a 30-inch, you know, time master or something like that. That's still gonna take a while versus a 36-inch commercial walk behind. So, and then this side here is similar to the other side, other than the extra obstacles that you have to go around. You know, you can kind of just go up and down, and that's about it. You can go side to side here and blend it in with the front and all that, but ultimately you do what saves time and what's not going to rut up the turf by making a whole bunch of extra turns, because that's going to rut things up even more. So you want to make sure you keep all those things in mind, and you have a good quality service, and you get everything done quickly and efficiently, and you have happy customers.